Welcome back to Holiday Report. I am your host, Benjamin Cooper, and I'm excited to bring you yet another episode. First off, I want to quickly apologise for the break between episodes. I've been hard at work with my studies and also trying to find the best possible content until the next episode, and the day has come. So today, we're diving into some fascinating updates and answering trending questions in the industry. Let's get started. So let's start things off with Play Airlines, which you might have heard about, given they have started operations about 3 years ago now and have operated rather successfully from the ashes of WOW Air, which went bankrupt 4 or 5 years ago now and has operated as the main competitor of Iceland Air since. So the budget carrier has announced a few interesting changes. First of all, and most importantly of all, is the application for a new air operator certificate, this time in Malta. So the AOC comes in a new focus for the carrier, mainly Southern Europe and Iceland, linking the two together, truly actually moving or diversifying really from the transatlantic shift. An interesting note, actually. Now, what does that mean for the customer? It means that if you live in in North America and maybe also Northern Europe, if you're looking for cheaper deals, you can transit in Iceland to go to places like Tenerife, Antalya, and Split, which, according to CH Aviation, is where the airline is likely to launch new flights. This is only supposed to happen later next year, but it was announced last week. So a very interesting shift in the way the airline is operating, and also showing very strong recovery of Southern Europe in terms of tourism, notably Malaga and the Costa del Sol, which is another destination which the airline is looking into. Our other main segment today is going to be Air India and Vistara. Now, as you know, this is a huge news. Since February last year, they have begun the process of integrating each other's operations, and we are seeing the end of that process. On November 11th, the two airlines will officially merge and become Air India. Now, for passengers, that's a good news, even though it means less competition on international routes. It means that the Singapore Airlines mentality, which was in Vistara, will be hopefully moved to Air India, meaning a more comfortable kind of, travel experience, something which Air India has been suffering with, and it would be very good for the customer to witness again. Our third topic today, and one of the most interesting actually, comes from America, and that is United Airlines. They are announcing new routes. So apologies, I got that confused. It's not Play that are announcing routes to Malaga, since they are already flying there. It's United Airlines. But the point still stands, so that will help connect America to the Costa del Sol, which is a very popular tourist destination. Maybe not so much with Americans, but definitely with Europeans. And it will be very interesting to see how the American public reacts to that. Other routes announced will be Brisbane in Australia, but also Faro in Portugal. So really focusing on secondary cities across the continents, something which is very interesting. United is truly positioning themselves as the airline that connects secondary markets. That can be seen with the A321XLR, which they have on order. It will not be capable of flying to Brisbane. It is simply not big enough and doesn't have enough range, but it will be capable of connecting these smaller cities, effectively taking on the role of the 757, which will at some point be retired, although we don't know the exact dates just yet. So looking at other key passenger destinations or like touristy activities to do at those destinations, Brisbane is the place where you're going to see the Great Barrier Reef, something which is one of the wonders of the world. Porto is a wine region, so you'll have the delicious port, and Malaga are the beautiful beaches. So lots of things to see and do in this new network. And we now move to our last section for today's podcast, and that's the A321XLR, which I just mentioned. So the Airbus A321XLR, I also spoke about it on LinkedIn, I encourage you to have a look, is the latest player in the Airbus lineup. It's effectively an A321, which has enhanced performance, meaning it can do long-haul trips. Its range being up to 4,700 nautical miles on paper. It will be interesting to see what it actually is when airlines start using it, because different seats means different weights, means a slightly different range. The first key customer, and that's one of the major developments we've been following the past few weeks, is Iberia. And we are getting closer to the first flight, which is supposed to happen next week on the 24th, if I am not mistaken. And that will be to two destinations, London and Paris. And that will be starting from Madrid. What will this aircraft offer? I mean, we don't know, but if it's anything like the A321LR that is operating at fellow IAG carrier Aer Lingus, you will see in-flight entertainment screens at the back, and you will see lie flat seats. Whether they will make it a special occasion and not use buy on board during the flights to London and Paris to test the thing, I'm not too sure. But still, the hard product will definitely be something exciting to have a look at. There might be lie flat seats. I honestly don't know. I hope so. It is an industry standard, but again, that's something we'll be looking at, and we might see some images. So let's keep an eye on that. So what does the A321XLR mean for passengers? Well, it means connecting secondary cities, which is something I touched on before. So, of course, Porto to New York, but we can also see more flights like Dublin to Atlanta, maybe, or something like Nantes in France to New York, or we can see something like, I don't know, Berlin, which has a smaller airport, so it's actually considered a secondary city, even though it's the capital, to places in America like Boston, and etc. We might see, new routes. Hopefully Air France will buy some in the future to connect Lyon, Marseille, other secondary French cities to major American cities. It's effectively a polyvalent airframe that can do the job of an A330 and land on the runway, which is compatible for the A320 family. So really is an aircraft that can broaden the capabilities. Some say it's a threat to wide-bodied carriers. I don't think so, but it's important to keep tabs open and have a look at how the industry will respond in the long term. And finally, we switch to one of my innovating sections. So here comes a bit of innovation. Let's respond to the questions of Google. What are people asking about aviation this week on Google Trends? Question number 1. Why are airline tickets so expensive? The answer is complicated. Airline tickets are influenced by several factors. Fuel costs being one of them. And right now with the Middle East, it can get a bit tricky. Expect prices to maybe go up. But also higher demand, since this COVID thing is over, more people want to travel. So there's more people asking to buy a ticket, and so tickets are more expensive. There's also availability of aircraft. The situation with the different manufacturers is a bit complicated. Not everything is being delivered, so there are older aircraft flying which need more maintenance, blah, 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 blah. So it's a very, very complex thing, how they are expensive. Hopefully, in the near term, maybe the next 5 or so years, it will go down as more new aircraft come and more aircraft adapted to new routes come online. But this is why tickets are expensive. Question number 2 is what's going on with the 737 MAX safety? So yeah, people are a bit worried. First of all, aviation is the safest means of travel, and so far most 737 Maxes haven't had no issues whatsoever. In fact, the majority of them have had no issues. Of course, there was the door thing, and one of them slid off the runway a few months ago in Newark, but it's got nothing to do with the Max itself. Well, it has, but it's nothing to do with the safety. Should I say? All of this is being investigated by the FAA, and the aircraft is deemed safe enough to not be grounded again. So you should not be worried about that. Boeing and the authorities are working together to make it as safe as possible. The third and most interesting question is aviation becoming more sustainable? Now, of course, it's not super sustainable because we're not electric yet or not hydrogen yet, but we have developed new technologies like the high bypass engines on the A321XLR. But the most important innovation we've had so far is sustainable aviation fuel, also known as SAFs, which you may have heard of, And those are different kinds of fuel, but the most common one is made out of wasted food, and it will be mixed in kerosene. Right now it's anywhere between 2 and 5%, but the ultimate goal is to be 100% SAF in the next decade or so. So yeah, aviation is becoming more sustainable, and SAF will play a huge role in long-haul travel, whereas hydrogen will play a massive role when it comes to short-haul. We might even see electric planes, but right now the trend is definitely hydrogen, something which I definitely should cover in more details in a next episode. So we are now at the end of this podcast. I would like to thank you for listening. And if you have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to drop an email. Don't hesitate to reach out, and I will see what I can do and how I can integrate it to the Responding to Trends section next week. So now expect one publication every Sunday. I don't know the exact hours yet, depends on how I'm free, but definitely one post every Sunday. It's been a real pleasure to have you on board for this episode. This was Holiday Report, and have a nice week ahead.